Well, I'm officially the mayor right now, but I am sworn in, like, with ceremonial swearing in at 6. But I am mayor now.
You were at the last meeting.
Yeah. I've seen.
Defining things.
Yeah. Getting that.
Let's call the Flagler County Commissioners Court to order this Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023. Asking Ms. Wall to call the roll.
Judge Brady.
Here.
Commissioner Weir. Commissioner Eager.
Here.
Commissioner Leisman.
Here.
Commissioner Riley.
Here. Please join us in the pledge of allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invitation. Father, we give you thanks for this moisture you have brought us. Although it lacks a little quenching our land, we ask that you bring us moisture and no destruction. Father in heaven, we commit this meeting to you. Come and reveal your will in every aspect of our life and ministry. As we discuss the affairs of this county, we ask for your will to be done. Show us your purpose. Enlighten us that we may know how you want us to accomplish your task. We desire your glory and blessing in all we do. Direct our thoughts, words, decisions, and actions toward the right path and help us stay on track. Let your will be done as we plan to make decisions. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Registered for public comment. Move to item 1 on the agenda, which is your consideration of minutes.
I move that we approve minutes for special meeting on 4/19, the meeting on 5/9, as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Riley, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 2, line transfers, of which there is one for you to approve or acknowledge.
I make a motion to approve the line item transfer as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Eager, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Outstanding bills.
So we have the bills in the amount of $408,280.35. I'd like to make a motion to approve those, but also need to add some things that came in late. One of them was the GovCap payment in the amount of $280,677.17. And then there's some miscellaneous phone and internet bills. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the bills in the amount of $408,280.35 and include an additional $283,320.90 in bills that came in late.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Eager, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you. Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. Thank you for having me again. As you remember, from legal specific agreement that you appointed myself and some other members to look into the fact of having a county veterans memorial on county land. And I think you have before you, if you do not, I have a little map of it that what this is directly behind the annex that corner of Nugent and Woodlawn. It's 100 by 100 that we are recommending that you approve for the use of that. We have met with the city arborist and gotten a consensus about the trees and what would have to happen, or some of them are diseased, and in agreement with the city and what would be done. So we know that there's some work that we have to do there, and it would not at all damage or impact your parking, nor will it impact that huge, wonderful live oak that's there. And anything that we do is proposed, it's not concrete laid down. It's going to be a paper type material with papers there, and that is the sand being white, and it's just leveled out. So the water, the moisture continues to always run. So what you have in part of this is I'm not sure that I sent you a tree thing. If you're interested, I have that. At this point in time, it's probably not. What we're really just asking for is that we cannot proceed with the elements that the committee has discussed until we get approval of the actual space that we can do this in. The design team is donating their time and there's no cost. And then once those designs are done, the elements in there that the committee has chosen to put in there, we will budget it out and come back to you for approval.
Today you brought Clay Simpson with you.
Clay Simpson, who helped us get this done, and Mike is here. Lita could not be here, she had migraine. And the committee is 100% behind this, Russell, the whole committee. This is 100% recommendation from the committee that you appointed.
So you met with our maintenance supervisor a time or two.
Yes, sir.
And he walked up there with you and you all surveyed the area
Yes, sir.
and identified, I think, and agreed on, there's some trees that you all call trash trees.
Yes, sir, I'm a little old fashioned, Blanco County girl, and some of those I call trash trees. But that's why we went to the arborist. I contacted Mr. Schroeder at the city and asked him what the rules were in the city, trying to find out. And so Russell was there when all of us were there on site when the city arborist came and gave us his, and what he said was to be right.
And the kind of trees you're talking about taking out,
Oh, let's go here. I have it right here. Not all of them. There's some of them that.
I'm not talking about the trees, I'm not going to name it, like, actors or
Okay. There's a mulberry to be removed, and not to be mitigated. Deadwood removal and pre-construction pruning should be undertaken on all trees prior to construction.
And is it true that everybody that was standing up?
100% in agreement.
Okay, you're reading my mind.
We also had a second arborist that I contacted come out and pretty much agreed with the first one.
It was a consensus of 2 arborists.
You're not talking about paving.
No, sir, no, sir. This is, as I mentioned in the beginning, I believe, if I wasn't clear, anything that we put down, the only concrete that would be there is that you will have to put a pad down to put a flagpole up. And we're only gonna probably recommend 3 flagpoles, not 7 or 8, because that's every 3 months maintenance. And so to reduce that, we would have Texas American and BOWMI. Well, those bases for a flagpole are, maybe 24 by 24. So, no, sir, the whole point of this, and using pavers to design this, is to let the water penetrate.
Are you still optimistic about your fundraising?
Yes, sir. Only once you decide and give us permission to move forward with the site, once we begin the design, only then can we begin to really promote it, to get sponsorship and to, like Mr. Leisman. Mr. Leisman's grandfather was in the military. Mr. Leisman might want to sponsor the service emblem for his grandfather. That's a way for us to get money, sir. And to sponsor the flagpoles, each thing. All of this, but we can't go to the fundraising until we have the site and the design plan approved.
What's the impression is that particular that you have outlined is less susceptible to being developed than some of the other, specifically over to the east side of the block. I think the building was intended to be able to be expanded, and that would be the expansion. That would be where I would think we would go. I think it's time to open it up and find out important things.
Yes.
Do you have any concerns about this little section of property is in a floodplain?
I understand that was one of the reasons when I talked to the judge. Being born and raised here, I know what Town Creek can do. I do not believe that the impact on this kind of layout is going to be that tumultuous. I'm not saying the water might not get up to the edge of it or something, but I think that I was here and raised and I saw the bridge go out when we got 17 inches in 1952. And I remember those things. I do not believe that the impact of being in a floodplain is disastrous to this place.
I was born and raised on the creek, and it's never gotten to that point in my lifetime, but it is in a floodplain, just saying.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In any of that, you're not talking about constructing any kind of living quarters.
No, sir. No,
Office
sir.
quarters.
No, sir.
The worst that could happen is pavers might get dislodged.
Pavers or maybe a bench might get dislodged. It wouldn't be any different than the benches that are on the trails that the city had placed all the way to the park. It would not be any different from that. Pretty much. So that's a gravel. But the benches are all.
Other thoughts?
Who will maintain that?
The county at this point would be the maintenance on this thing. Because it's
The
on the county property. That's not to say that there are points in times that would be volunteers. Because this would be, I perceive it as an ongoing thing. Maybe somebody financially can't buy a brick right now, or their son or their daughter goes into the military service. And then they come out and they say, well, I didn't get to participate. So these bricks are designed where we could add to it through the years. And any funding, and I don't know how the county works this, that's not my job. My job is just to design it and to raise the funds to have it. And any funds left over, maybe there's a maintenance fund. I don't know how to do designated funds in the county.
What do you see as the ongoing maintenance needs for something like this?
I think it will have to be blown off, maybe around the edges, no different than it is now, being weed eaten or whatever. When the live oaks are in the leaves, they'll have to be blown and taken care of. And the flags cannot, as we know, be tattered and they have to be maintained. But there are organizations within the county and others that provide a lot of these flags, like the Daughters of the American Revolution, who will be the 501(c)(3) carrying this forward.
And the American Legion will be sponsoring.
They're brush training, different.
There could be, we really don't know yet. That's still to be determined. That would probably be the problem. When you lay these bricks that are in, it is nearly like a mortar sand. It's not called a mortar sand, but it's that real fine and it sets up kind of like concrete, but the moisture goes through. I just finished the project with about 3,000 of those things. And even when the water rains hard on it, it disperses, but it's allowed to penetrate into the ground. So the live oak tree would not be impacted in its root systems down there. That's very important, that we do not disturb the root systems of any of the trees that are left.
So when you come in having plain bricks, and somebody can buy one for their loved one to pass on, and your name
And then we replace them. In the beginning, we'll sell the bricks and do a bunch of those at one time, but yes, sir, you're exactly right. Maybe your grandson, your granddaughter, somebody in the future, and this should be an ongoing project. That's the way I perceive it, because we never want to forget, because we're sitting here today, ladies and gentlemen, because somebody made a sacrifice and continues to make that sacrifice. And so you already know it's very, very, very my heart. And I believe it's an example to our young people and the people who travel through our town when they come here for Light Spectacular, that this county appreciates America and what these veterans have done. It's a silent reminder.
Any questions?
No, sure.
So this concept was taken up and failed in Blanco for various reasons. Same kind of area, floodplain, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, it's particularly important, if we're gonna take the concept and relocate it, that the Blanco side of the county has a significant role in this. You have more or less equal representation.
Yes, sir, Lita Garcia is from the south as well as Mike. And Judge, that's very important to me. As many of you know, my mother was from Blanco, my mother's family, my daddy from Johnson City. And I believe, and I've served on the historical commission for many years, and I understand how touchy some of those things can be. But I always said my parents were married 60-something years, and they were from opposite sides of 290. And it is important. And so once we can get this, it's important that it be recognized for anybody, anyone. And we have newcomers coming into our county, and they have served in the military. And we have to encourage those people to bring all people into this fold. We created equal. I'm preaching here again.
So, going back to the beginning, you are looking for an action from the Commissioner Court that authorizes you to move forward on this project.
Yes, sir.
So you want a commitment from us saying what?
That you agree and that you will commit this 100 by 100 at the corner of Newton and Bluebonnet for a Blanco County Veterans Memorial.
When you say that, are you asking, there's no legal document or deed?
No, sir. No, sir. It's only in your minutes that you're giving us permission to do this, and it's within the confines of the county commissioners to have this permission. you take care of the county business and that's county property. We cannot move forward without your okay.
Okay, on the bricks, it's just strictly military, or can we use, have people put on there that's been significant in the county in the past that hasn't been in the military?
And that's been the thought, whether it be maybe an officer or EMT or another section. I mean, that's been discussed, but that hasn't come into this proposal. Yes, sir. About how we could recognize everyone. There could be a section on that. Right now, we're strictly working toward the military impact of anybody that, recognizing the services.
I see the same thing that you're wanting to do in another town, and mine's sidewalks.
Mhm.
It's very nice.
Yes, sir.
Is it lit?
That's our hope, that it will, but it will be, if we have the flags, of course, they have to be lit at night. But we want to be, night sky as well.
I didn't do that.
There's down lights. We have them in our proposal, the surf lights. They're a whole topic.
Thank you for that explanation.
I'll make a motion to authorize, the project for the placement of the Veterans Memorial on the grounds of the North Annex, the 100 by 100 section was presented.
I'll second.
Mr. Weir, second discussion. So I have mixed feelings about it. Not about the project, something that Commissioner Eager brought up about the recognizing others. I'm thinking, for example, of a combination county and district clerk, whether she could have a paper or not. But in the end, I think if I have to just draw a line, I think it should be limited to folks who actually serve. Maybe that includes first responders, you kind of alluded to, but I think it should probably be limited to folks who serve.
I'm of the opinion that I agree with you, but I do think that somewhere in the future, that it's a possibility to, once we get this going and it's accepted and we've got it paid and done, that maybe there is something in the future where we want to recognize our people in our services other than military service. And maybe that can be done tastefully somewhere within the county lines.
All right, motion second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. You have your.
Thank you, gentlemen, thank you, Judge.
Thank you for, this isn't, easy, and you're the only one that's ever.
It's a passion for me. It is a passion, and, I go into, I have found, I just want to tell the court that as I've talked to other people from Blanco and other places when I go into businesses, I find those people, some of them are new to the county that, have a business, and I find out that they're a veteran. Well, you know what happens, I put their name on my Excel spreadsheet, because that's important that we recognize everybody. And so I appreciate your support, and our committee will get busy, and hopefully in the next few months we'll be back. Okay.
We'll look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.
Item 5 on our agenda, and then we're having a understanding with the Governor Children's Advocacy Center. It says here, Jackson, that I know that county attorney early on the signatory list, so if we have questions, so is the sheriff, but I think next.
I moved to authorize the county judge to sign the memorandum of understanding and open disciplinary team working protocols with country children as.
Is there a second?
I'll say.
Mr. Eager, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 9-6. Interlocal between Blanco and Brandon County on jail services.
I make a motion to authorize the county judge to sign the updated interlocal agreement for prisoners housing between Blanco and Vernon County. Will become effective October 1st, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Wright, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, fireworks in the parking lot for the 4th of July. I think the mayor is here, although, would this be a Chamber of Commerce initiative, or is this a city initiative?
It's a city issue, Judge.
So the mayor is here, as is Ms. Walston. If you have questions, maybe you should just come up.
Good morning.
So, Whitney Walston,
Yes, I'm the city secretary for the city of Johnson City.
and what we're talking about is setting off fireworks from the back parking lot of the annex of the courthouse for the July celebration.
Yes, so on July 1st, we will be utilizing the fireworks, so a licensed pyrotechnic using electronic firing, so no open flames. There'll be trash removal, dumpster on site, we'll, patrol the area, remove the debris from the fireworks. We did not have fireworks last year because of the program, previous year before we used the county fairgrounds, but we would like to keep it within the city of Johnson City.
The rains are coming, and I am optimistic, so I won't be surprised if this gets approved. But if it does get approved, and the rain it does not rain again, but it comes July the 1st. Could you imagine if the commissioner court doesn't somehow rescind it, some sort of disaster declaration where it looks just really dangerous if we don't do it. If the fire chief says we shouldn't do it.
Exactly, and so we have a contingency built into our contracts to prevent post-fire until later date.
So you are prepared for that?
Yes, it's
Contingency is probably not gonna happen.
fees forgiven.
Alright. So we're to get a motion.
Make a motion to authorize the city of Johnson City to utilize the north parking lot of the north annex for the fireworks display on July 1st. Pending burden test without conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Eager, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, real property and the 2 open showrooms.
Make a motion to declare the 1997 Chevrolet S10 and the 2004 Chevrolet pickup surplus and list on bill.
Is there a second? Second. Mr. Riley, discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9, is Mr. Malloy on with us?
Yes.
So, item 9, and let's see, Ms. Ashby's back involves the settlement proposal with one of the defendants in the defendants in the opioid litigation. And Mr. Lloyd.
This is Mr. Patel that's on.
Mr.
Good morning, Judge.
Patel's also here. Mr. Patel, you suggested that we put an executive session on the agenda for this purpose, but you're not saying that we have to go into executive session, are you?
No, Your Honor, I'm not saying that.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward, unless the commissioner wants to go into executive session to discuss it. I don't see it as all that sensitive. It's simply whether or not the county is going to participate in the settlement. And Mr. Patel, just to summarize, this settlement of this defendant for the state of Texas, counties within the state of Texas, is in the neighborhood of how many $1 million?
The total settlement for the state is $120 million in change.
But when I look at the spreadsheet, it looks to me like Blanco County is in line for about 6,000 and change.
That's correct, Your Honor. It's $5,937.68. That's the direct share allocation for Blanco County, and those funds can be used for whatever purpose. There are also funds that will go to the regional abatement fund, for which Blanco County can apply to implement various, abatement measures for the opioid crisis.
So I spoke with one of you, I can't remember if it was you or Mr. Malloy, about these regional funds, because we approved a settlement a year or two ago with a large amount going to a regional fund. And if I don't, you're gonna have to correct me if I'm misstating this, but my understanding is the regional fund either isn't set up yet or isn't finalized yet, so there's no way to go ask for money out of it.
That is correct. The Opioid Council, in association with the Comptroller's Office, is setting up an application process, and that application process should be finalized this fall. And it should be a straightforward application process. In our office, in association with the other attorneys working on this case, are ready to help usher those applications through for the county.
When you say a straightforward application process, I don't know the amount, but it was several $1 million for our particular region, but our particular region includes counties like Travis and Williamson. So my recollection is that the fund isn't set up based on population, or if we were to apply, we have an equal opportunity to apply for funds as any other county.
That's correct. The only payment that is tied specifically to your population would be your direct share allocation.
So there's no reason, if we identified a $1 million project, that we couldn't go ask for $1 million out of this fund.
That's correct.
And I'm pretty sure the others will be. Okay. Anyway, in this case, that's what's up for your consideration, is whether or not participating in the settlement agreement, which basically gives the county about $6,000.
I move to authorize the county judge or other authorized officials to execute settlement participation and release forms regarding settlement offers in the matter of Texas opioid multi-district litigation for the county in the matter of County of Blanco versus Purdue Farm LP.
Before I call for a second, I ask you to consider as part of your motion to go ahead and identify these funds for some purpose, specifically maybe stock.
Okay, and directing these funds to start file.
But don't do it, you don't seem.
That's a good couple.
Yeah, is that not a good idea? Okay. It's a funny idea, obviously. All right, motion made, is there a second? Second. Couldn't tell.
Your second.
Mr. Ryan. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Patel. Do you have anything else?
There is not, Your Honor. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for the privilege of representing Blanco County in this litigation.
We appreciate it. There's more to come, right? I believe there are still some certificates outstanding. All right, so there is no need for item 10. And before then, which takes us to item 12.
precinct 2 hire request.
Yes, sir. For a period of 2 months, I was without my second employee. So I've got a chance to hire somebody for that period of time, 2 months. And I also have a resignation from one of my employees right now. Marvel Knight would give me has given me a resignation. Okay. That's it. He would work through July the 15th. And I hired the new hire this week. And
You're saying you have the funding?
I have the funding, checked with the treasurer, and we have 2 months that I have not used out of the budget for the wages of an employee.
Do you have somebody already targeted?
Yes, sir.
You want to share that or not want to share that?
I have an application sitting on my desk from Tony DeBob, who is an operator.
Okay. Is that your motion?
My motion is to allow me to hire a third employee for a period of 2 months.
Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Lewis, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, variance request. Commissioner Riley.
Okay, so out on Trinity Valley,
Interrupt you. I have this piece of paper. This
this is going to, yes, this bank and a little bit later. Unfortunately, it's black and white with no color. Printed off right. So there's 88.24 acres, and in order to get to the back 50 that is being sold, we're asking for a variance so that the roadway can be built down the fence line on the Hearn property. As you can see in here, it's 50 foot wide, so that it can't be developed to a subdivision on that 50 acres back there for standards. And also with that, there's a MD restrictions. It's going to say that this cannot be subdivided.
Yes.
Sorry. 10 here is the one that is selling 50 acres and is asking for variance.
And for clarification, the variance that would be up for consideration is that front gate out to the road is not 250 feet wide.
It's not. It's 60 feet, 50 foot wide.
Okay, that's your motion.
But, okay, yeah. So, yes, my motion is that we grant the variance on the 50-foot road easement from Chimney Valley to the 50-acre property behind the.
And I don't want to put you in a block environment. Presupposed, we could just bring this to the court, not court, but you want to put it for the court, or is that your actual motion that you're supporting?
I'm supporting.
Okay, so that's your motion. Is there a second?
I'll say.
Commissioner Weir, discussion.
One of the reasons I'll say is because it is 50 foot wide. It doesn't give them the opportunity in the future to subdivide it anyway and put it in the deed restrictions that are required they do. So I think it's that's why I support it.
And the road will be built county spread.
That one doesn't have to be because
No,
it's
it's
next
not.
deal, right?
Anything else? I put item 14 on here, and you'll note that I did not put the phrase possible action. This is just a discussion to be had. If any kind of discussion goes here, any of us or such, then we'll put it on a future agenda to do something about it. And it's based on my impressions from a previous meeting regarding this discussion about affidavit. Literally, affidavit of land location, which is 104-200 within the Blanco County subdivision regulations. And to start with, this is going to sound funny, but I Googled affidavit of land location specifically yesterday, and I only came up with 2 relevant references. First is Kendall County, which is where we took a lot of our language from. And the second is Blanco County. I can't find another county that uses this. They might be out there, but they don't show up in Google. And this phrase, affidavit of land location, is not contained in the statutes anywhere. Not the local government code, not the property code, not the government code, any of the codes that I can find. So that I don't have a problem with the idea of Blanco County being on the cutting edge of something, or being a leader or something. But I'm not real comfortable with this process, and I think the realtors and some others that spoke raised some concerns that I just would like to hear you all talk about. Specifically, one of the problems I have is it makes the county judge's office and then this court the funnel for every transaction where there's any kind of division. They all have to be approved here, even if they make an exception. And that seems almost to minimize or question what's the point of an exception. You still have to go through commission. You still have to wait your turn, put your stuff in the county judge's office, and go through commissioner's court. So I have that issue. I have the issue that it says the affidavit shall comply with the requirements established by the court, and there are no requirements that we established other than that I know of, other than the template for the order. And the order says it's going to go through commissioner's court. It also says that who the commissioner is that's going to make a motion that the proposed division be exempt. So it just seems terribly complicated. Now, I understand this procedure to be a mechanism to catch someone in Blanco County that's putting in an illegal subdivision. If I'm wrong, tell me, but if that's true, that's a good reason. And I know we have a lot of concern about that. We have people building stuff right now and then they come and tell us about it later. We have people putting in septic tanks and they don't bother to get a permit. Driveways without bothering to get a 911 address. But there's a piece of statute that says that if we're looking for a way to catch these people, it seems to me that this way is not the most efficient, and it covers too many people. The statutes say that, I was discussing this requirement that a utility, in our case, I think we're talking PVC, mostly, shall not provide service to a lot, a tract, unless the owner can show a certificate from the commissioner's court that water and sewer have, that water availability, which goes to Mr. Friesler, who's sitting back there, and sewer permit, which goes to Mr. Rader, have been obtained. So it seems, to me, that seems like our biggest stick, that you can't get electrical service unless you comply with a couple of county requirements. Separate apart from this affidavit.
So can I question right there? As we are in the process of applying for electrical service for the Starflight facility, they have never once asked about water or septic. We're to the easement stage, so. How would you get the utility company to change their rates?
Well, we discussed that this morning, and clearly that's going to take an invitation to discuss it, maybe in another forum here. But yeah, it does take the cooperation. Otherwise, what's the point of that statute?
I think we might have been a little lax in the past, the county or PDC or whoever, to make sure that that doesn't happen. But I think if we get back in touch with them and tell them that we're trying to make this a smoother path to do it right and get these lots, whether they're sold or exempted or anything from a planning. We still need to know of some sort, but again, that is one of the only ways that the authority that we have is to deny their permit for septic tank or PDC not put a pole out there or whatever. So I think that's what we need to do better is work, and to reassure that someone does purchase these property and request power deployment. A lot of times they want power deployment so they can drill a well. But I remember times where you had to have plans for your house or something there that would get that started.
Well, 11 years ago, you had to have a well before they bring electricity to the
Yeah, or have a well first or whatever.
And I could read that statute to say that's the case today.
Okay, so if we enforce that better, do we need to?
Does that really make sense? Because why would you drill a well before you have power for the well?
Well, you almost need electricity to do the well, but the reason for it was when we were actually doing some property selling and stuff, was the fact that the EC didn't want to put a pole out there for hunting or a trailer for hunting or whatever. They wanted to make sure there was going to be a residence there at some.
What do they care?
That could have been back in the previous PDC era where they used to charge $125 to get a new service. In today's world, they charge you per pole, per wire length, and everything else. So their fee schedule has dramatically increased over the years. So maybe when you're talking about this, back then we used to be able to pay $125 and get a meter wherever we want. You can't do that anymore. I mean, you can pay the money. You've got to pay the money, the estimated estimate to get it.
So why does that change the process of them having to look into why they're taking it? Is this an illegal? Is the county aware of this? Without an affidavit of land, if you do it right, how do you do it? Nowadays, who notifies you that they're doing it? So that's what we're trying to achieve, right?
In the scenario of Starflight, we had to prove land ownership of the land, but they don't really care what you're going to do with that piece of property as long as you pay the bill to get the electricity where you want.
Did you prove that to PEC?
You have to prove that to PEC that you own the land, and and then you have to get the easements going through the other properties to get to that. Which sometimes they have completely wrong.
Do you see any difficulty in every transaction for every piece of property coming through the commission court?
I see an issue with PEC trying to do every transaction through Commissioner's Court for every new meter.
They don't have to go to the court, they just notify the county by phone call.
Which they do that currently, right? Don't they just on how many new meters?
Well, yeah, has nothing to do with, really, they do that because the state statute requires them to. But, I don't know what the purpose is, other than I use it just as an indicator of growth. I have, Ms. Fry, several months ago, was indicating that legally it comes to the county judge's office. She was interested in information I had and automatically forwarded it to them. So I guess they use it for some purpose.
I don't know if we're trying to, or I'm asking, are we trying to stop the sale from happening? Are we trying to stop them from developing it or putting an illegal septic tank on there? That's what I'm asking. What are we trying to achieve?
I don't know.
So I guess my opinion on that question would be to work with the groundwater district to make sure that our groundwater district, if somebody is dividing their property multiple times, that yes, they have the highway frontage, is the groundwater, is it being affected in any which way? I mean, I want to make sure that the groundwater conservation district is included, involved in whether it's a 5-track split or however it is.
You bet. And I don't know at this point whether they ask the question. If someone calls and says, look, I've got 7 acres here I just purchased, and I need a well. Come look at it.
Well, let's go through that just a minute. So, I'll pick an example that everybody's happy with. Let's say it's a 50-acre tract, and you divide it into 5 10-acre tracts. So that theoretically, there's an exception to the requirement county commission court will apply, assuming it meets the other criteria. The exceptions don't seem to say that you have to have a water availability study. Correct. So it sounded like what you just said was we want to make sure there's water availability for them to do that.
Just the knowledge, at least the knowledge to the groundwater district that, hey, I have now a 50-acre, used to be ranch land, is now going to be 10 5-acre lots.
How is that knowledge not going to be passed to them when somebody comes and makes the well? Don't you have a well permitting process?
We have a well application process, yes, Judge, and we generally look, if it's in what appears to be a subdivision, we check to make sure that there's sufficient clearance between the wells that may be already existing in a new well.
As does Mr. Ray, to make sure it's, or his assistants, that it's sufficiently distant from the sewer disposal facility, the septic tank and the draining area, right?
Yes, there's a clearance between property lines, septic tanks, and septic drain fields. Between those 3 things and wells.
So every individual that drills a well in Blanco County pulls a permit for you?
Yes, to drill a new well, that's correct.
To do it legally, right?
I'm sorry?
To do it legally. Yes. And are your well drillers, they're required to get that permit before they drill it, right?
Yes.
So they can't go out there and drill it first.
They better not.
Okay. Well, this is sort of a discussion, but when he says to do it legally, if a well driller did something under the table and drilled a well for somebody and didn't follow any of these rules we just talked talking about, don't they have a license that could be in jeopardy? Or some sort of certificate of authority that could be in jeopardy?
They are licensed by the state of Texas to drill wells or install pumps in wells. If they break one of our rules, they're not only in violation of our rules, but the state rules too, because they're required to work with the local groundwater districts in the drilling and completion of wells. So they'd be in double trouble there.
All right, so all of this discussion, related to this, I put it on the agenda as a discussion about continuing, modifying, or even eliminating the affidavit, the affidavit of application. And I may personally almost be ready to say we should think about eliminating it at some future point, but at least we should modify it, because the way it is right now, well, if we're not going to modify it, we definitely need to put some more regulations in place about how this process works. Not to pick, I hate to pick on the same entity, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. It says a utility may not provide services until it gets a copy of a certificate of compliance by the county. Okay, this county, it says the same thing for the county about water and sewer. And it also says for the municipality, which makes me wonder how the Carter Creek Apartments got electric service when their water and sewer weren't even negotiated yet. Because the statute says they can't provide service unless there's a certificate or a commitment for water and sewer from the city, similar devices for the county. And I only bring that up and ask that question because I still want to make sure that there's some sort of safeguards for development that we know about it, and it's done in a compliance manner.
That was a good question. I've done work in other counties where before we could sell a piece of property, the septic tank on it had to be certified, and a copy of that certification and tested had to go in paperwork for the closing, or you couldn't sell it. You couldn't sell it. So that's the first thing you look at.
Say that again.
We bought property. I worked for a company before in a county where before we could buy that property, closed, it had a house on it. If the septic tank permit, all of that was in the back, closed. It had to show that septic tank it was put in properly, all of that before we closed.
I don't know if that's true in Wayne County.
I don't know if it is, but in other counties, that's one of the rules they have.
But I do know that there seemed to be a lot of discussion at previous meeting about not wanting to make the title companies the compliance police, or that there wasn't enough information because we don't have any regulations about how to be the compliance police on this affidavit of land location.
The way you look at it, someone's having to pick up 8 persons, whether it's the commissioner's court, or whether it's title company, somebody's good. So you can expect whether or not he's permitting, so someone has control of that. Needs to have 100% to go through your commissioner's court. Well, I don't, but, you know, well, not,
I don't, but.
I'm just saying.
But I'm biased because somebody has to put it on every agenda. And somebody has to field the phone calls, and everybody is raving and angry about the fact that it might take a couple of weeks to get approval from Commissioner's Court, and they want to close yesterday.
Yes, sir.
And it's all my fault. And she should make exceptions, because she has that power.
I can only imagine every county is struggling without a hundred.
Well, it was brought up to me this week that they thought that the commissioners, they need to come to the commissioner's signature. And we said, we can't do that because we have to go through the judge. But is there any way we can make it work? When they came to the commissioners could sign off on it and they could go.
I don't know the answer to that, but I think that's certainly worth studying, if that's something we'd be interested in. You know, because
That would eliminate time coming to court, and the commissioner could have questioned him again at that point. Is this going to be subdivided? What are you doing? Down the line, ECD.
it's a question of whether or not the Commissioner Court can designate. I mean, you know, we do that in other instances in other ways. We'll say, don't we do that with adopting a piece of a road for trash? I guess the Commissioner's Court still can bring it to the court. All right, well, I don't know what your overall feelings are. I still don't like the process, but I'm not sure we're getting out of the process. You brought up an example the other day about an unnamed individual that cut up his ranch into pieces that look like it should be like a subdivision. But there was nothing that ever going through anywhere that I know of.
Correct. Correct, and then,
But were all those pieces 10 acres?
the pieces, so unfortunately, you have a lot of different property IDs. Like one individual has multiple property IDs on one tract land, and then that piece of, that property ID got sold. Well, there was no, never came through Commissioner's Court, there was no access. Luckily, the person that bought it was, I think they already owned land there, so it just tied into it. You know, so there's, you're dividing, they're dividing their land up without our knowledge. You know, and I don't know about the groundwater's knowledge, things of that nature.
But there's even some of those exceptions are pretty deep in that chapter of the local government code. But there's even an exception for dividing it where it's going to neighboring landowners.
So I don't have a problem rewording that, maybe even eliminating this whole deal. I would like to try and have the whole subdivision rules and regulations up for next Commissioner's Court. Try to get to that stage. We've already received information from the Groundwater Conservation District. We've already received information from our engineer, road engineer, and I've received information from the fire department. So I'm ready to try to finalize my side of it and bring it back to y'all for adoption.
If there are other counties that are using this, I kind of wonder how Kendall County does it. Do they have an individual hired in the county judge's office, and that's his or her job is to process this? Does the county clerk?
We can reach out.
Specializing?
We can reach out to them and ask them how they're handling this and what they're doing to us.
And are they the only ones? And if they are the only ones, was it a good idea for us to take this process through? Maybe there's other ways to.
Well, my question is too, is are they using it for that purpose? You know, they might not, they might be using it for another purpose, an example I thought of, the family that's working on their father's will, and said this is what we're gonna do someday. But we need to resolve this, so here's an affidavit plan saying what we're gonna do. So that's not looking at the sale or division. I think maybe that, if that does take a form, it takes a different type of form. And it might not take the court to approve every single one of them, but to have that attached.
I firmly object to now receiving affidavits of land location for estate planning purposes. Now you're really opening up a whole nother area of filings that.
Well, it would be good to know what Kendall County, how they use theirs and see what they're doing. They're the only other one but us. We're using them as a model. I'm curious to see what it is.
Okay. Well, that's why it's on here is for discussion. And I feel like we have more discussion about this, but I wanted, the only way that 5 of us can talk about it together is like this. And I have a problem with that. But that's why it's on the agenda, so that we can all have that opportunity. And the public can see what we're thinking, if we're thinking. All right. Anything else on that particular item? Because if not, we talk about the Burning Man. And not talk about the Burning Man. Take us out 16.
Make a motion to adjourn.
For a second.
Second.